So I just spent half an hour basically telling you how Donald Trump can ensure he wins the presidency in 2024, but how can Kamala sustain her lead right now? Now, Kamala has been having the best of the honeymoons politically. She has gone from being negative 17% in the red in approval rating to almost damn near neutral, which is pretty damn good. Okay. I mean, it's like going from like $80,000 in student loans to maybe owing somebody a bagel. Okay. So it's a very nice thing, but will it last? And how can you make it last? Well, I'm here to solve it for you guys. So Kamala Harris is somebody who, again, I'm biased, okay? I'm a Trump supporter. I want her to lose, but I love being the devil's advocate. I want to become a defense attorney. Let me defend this. Now, if you look at this right now, this is what a lot of people on Twitter are saying is going to happen, by the way. The brats, so to speak. Okay, so one mid album out the way, okay? That brat album. Okay, so we're going to discard that. We have Kamala Harris winning 319 electoral votes with Trump Vance winning only 219. Why is that bad? Why is that bad? Well, a lot of people are wrong about this. A lot of people think that Kamala has it in the bag, which is just asinine. And we're going to break down why that's completely not true. And even though why the polls have Harris winning, it's not enough. And she needs to do a lot better. And I'm going to explain how from the right-wing point of view. So, all right. So she's leading by 3. This is not enough. She's leading by not even any more than Hillary was in 2016, in fact. She's leading by less than Biden was this time 4 years ago. And you guys think that she could win? She got to do better, okay? You know, a lot of people will say, you know, that she's hiding from people, that she's gone weeks without a conference, and that's true. But the reason is probably because she feels as if she's not ready to speak off the cuff. And you know what? That's true, and she's bad. Okay, so what does she need to do? Because either you could say, well, you know what? We're content by only winning by 3 percentage points nationally, even though Biden almost lost, winning it by over 4. So realistically, you want to have another few points as a cushion if you're Kamala. But the truth is, though, is that if she's leading even narrowly in all the swing states, okay, fine, we'll concede it. Is it really a viable option to wait until after Labor Day and wait until enough people bank enough early ballots for the Democrats to say, okay, now we'll actually debate Trump after the severity and the consequences and the stakes have gone down considerably? Is that a worthwhile angle? I would say probably not. The reason being is that while I think Kamala, if she opens her mouth, will tank her odds, the truth is that it's the only way she can even win. Ironically, like Biden with the debate. Did the debate ruin his career and put the final nails in the coffin? Yes. But had he not done the debate, he would have just lost, but more gradually, obviously. And thank God that he did debate so that now you can have Kamala on the ballot. So she has a better shot than a guy who didn't debate in Biden theoretically. So that being said, Kamala needs to expand her lead and not just coast. It's not enough. She needs to speak. But how will she do it? So as of right now, these are what the liberals are saying. Newsweek and other people that are in the mainstream media will tell you that she has it in the bag. But let's look into what her policy is in the first place. Let's say I'm somebody who has tuned out of politics. I hated Trump and Biden, but Harris, she's younger, and I vaguely knew that she was the vice president years ago. I'm just Joe Sixpack from Michigan, okay? So let's click on her website, KamalaHarris.com. Join the campaign. Nope. All right, so let's win this. All right, fine. But you look into this, and you'll notice right off the bat, she's got Meet Kamala Harris, Meet Tim Walz, Take Action, Events in Store. Okay, so very bare bones website. Let's go to Meet Kamala Harris. Does she have her policies over here? Again, she's the incumbent president, kind of. So, I mean, she ought to really have an idea of what she's doing. She's had years to prepare for this. Okay, so she's talking about her bio. Okay, I mean, this is like a prettier Wikipedia, I suppose. Nice pictures. She was in the Senate. Okay. Do we have any current plans for 2025? Do we have anything that she's going to do right now while Biden's a lame duck? She's going to make history. Okay, thank you. But are you going to do something? And no, she's not. Okay, so there's no policy platform. So you can see what the move is here. They're just saying, okay, we're winning by a few points, so we're just going to call it there and just not have her speak at all, have one debate and just try to like make sure that she doesn't screw it up. Truth is that will it really work? Again, the logic by the Harris campaign is that, okay, she's winning a little bit. So if that's the case, we'll just keep cooking the polls to have nice results. We're going to have a good confirmation bias that'll juice up the fundraising, and we're going to coast off of ads. We're going to hope that Donald Trump hangs himself because he's crazy and stuff like this, metaphorically. But that's not a guarantee at all. And you're playing with fire, or the lack thereof in that case. And it's a suffocating sort of silence when you don't actually advocate for your candidate and you don't even have a platform. Okay, I mean, come on, like what presidential candidate in mid-August has no platform to speak of? I mean, Trump has Agenda 47. I mean, Harris likes to point at the craziness of Project 2025. Okay, well, I mean, at least that's something. Where's your policy packet? I mean, it doesn't exist. It's odd. Here's the reason why she really needs a platform. You might say, well, a platform gives the Republicans a bridge to attack her on. But on the other hand, it gives the people that are voting for her a reason to vote with concrete evidence of like, okay, this is what I'm actually going in for. Obviously, no duh. And then beyond this, right now, if she has no like platform, what they basically have to do as Republicans and say, okay, well, then if you have no plans, then we're just going to assume you're Biden 2.0. You do not want to be Biden 2.0 when it comes to polling. Of course not. So then she's screwed. Oh, well, actually, I was a senator years before. So what about that? Okay, so you were the most liberal senator to the left of Elizabeth Warren, to the left of Bernie Sanders. Are you sure you want to go with that, Kamala? Answer is obviously not. You want to win the suburbs. You want to win Macomb County. You want to win Bucks County, Center County, Erie County, all the counties. All right, so she needs a platform no matter what. And it at least gives her a buffer from her liberal record, to be honest. And picking Tim Walz obviously doesn't help. If I were her, I would have picked Shapiro, or a safer pick would have been maybe Roy Cooper or Mark Kelly or Andy Bashir. Definitely Bashir. But I mean, for Walz, Walz sucks, but you can't get rid of him now, so we're not going to argue that. Okay, another valid reason as to why she needs to actually be more aggressive in her campaigning. You'll see right now that Kamala Harris is totally beholden to the 538 aggregate, which is one of the predominant websites that will basically have a category for all the polls. Okay, that aggregate has Harris up in a place like Wisconsin that is vital for the presidency. She leads at 47.3 to Trump's 44.1. So, oh my God, guys, she's leading by 3.2. Yes, but you have to understand that number one, the polls, I don't believe them. Second of all, obviously, you need to have over 50% to be confident you're going to win a given state, clearly, and you're months out from the election anyhow. So you can't just coast right now. Beyond this, again, 47 plus 44 means that there's about 9% of undecided vote. Undecided votes that will likely go to Trump. Why? Well, if Harris is an unknown quantity, and not unknown quantity like, oh my God, she's a maverick, she's so cool, and we haven't met her yet. It's more so like, okay, why the hell is she still hiding? It's been weeks without a press conference, that debate performance. We'll see how people take that. But anyway, people are not totally confident if she's actually competent to be president. For all they know, Biden just picked somebody who was younger than him and diverse to be VP 4 years ago. And guess what? They were right. That assumption is correct. And so really, she does need to inspire confidence in people that are undecided, because as of right now, Trump's leading with those people just on those metrics that I just came up with in my head. And then objectively, when it comes down to the economy and things that are going to be more permanent, these things are likely to get even worse in the following few months than get better. Okay, jobs reports as of the last several weeks have been worse than they've been the 6 months prior. So unemployment's getting worse. And those stats are already facetious. GDP growth is not amazing. The stock market took a huge hit and it kind of built back, but kind of in a phantom way. And beyond this, there could be a recession. There's a great chance there will be one by the election. And if that's the case, then call it wraps. It's over. But again, people will fill out Nevada and Arizona as confidently Democrat. But even if you look at the mainstream media perception, Harris is winning Arizona by 0.3 over Trump and only has 45% of the vote. To Trump's 44, which means that there's 10% undecided. Like I said, do you really want to bet on those 10% of undecided, thinking that the economy is going to be better in November 5th than it was as it is right now in August? I think it'll get worse. And you could even say, as a Kamala supporter, you know what? Inflation's not as bad as it used to be. But it doesn't work that way, folks. If inflation's 10% one year and then it's 5% the next, it's not going down. It's just not going up by as much. Okay, for example, you wouldn't brag and say, well, I gained 10 pounds of fat last month, but I'm only gaining 5 now. I mean, you're still fatter than ever. Or balding. Oh, I lost 10% of my hair last year. I only lost 5% of it now. Well, it means that after 2 years, you're down 15. So you're felt it. So, I mean, this sort of argument won't work. And so, yes, she could be leading in these states right now. But if she's not getting 50% of the vote, she's not likely to win it yet. Now, this is a patch of quicksand that if I were Harris and I had her here, I would tell her that, these unlikely victories should not be pursued. The Democrats are building themselves up for a big disaster if they do the following. Think that they're up by a ton and say, well, you know what, screw it. If we're already winning Michigan, Wisconsin, etc., let's start investing into states like North Carolina, which is not smart, or let's invest into states like Florida or Texas. Do not do that if you're a Democrat. Why? Because Trump will definitely win the states. In fact, if he were to lose the popular vote by 6 or 7 percentage points, which will not happen, he would still win Florida. Okay, Florida is probably going to go Republican by anywhere from like 7 to 12%. It's definitely more conservative than is Texas at this point, which is hard to believe, but it's true. Historically, not so much the case, but as of recently, as of DeSantis, it's been pretty Republican, to be clear. In fact, when Trump lost the Rust Belt, he won Florida by over 3 in 2020. So just keep that in mind. So to have anybody spending money on these states, or even spending your interns' manpower and work hours into calling and getting people to vote in these states that you're not going to win anyway, will lower your odds in different places. For example, Trump did several rallies in 2020 in New Hampshire where he lost by 7. You think he would have had those back? He would have put those in Georgia. How about Trump in Minnesota? Trump lost Minnesota by over 7 in 2020. Don't you think he wishes that he got those dozens of rallies he did in Minnesota and put them into Arizona, put them into Georgia, put them into Pennsylvania? In fact, had you reallocated the rallies in 2020 for Trump, he probably would have flipped Georgia, he would have flipped Arizona, maybe Wisconsin, and that would have won him the election. So just keep in mind where you spend your resources. It's very important. All right, so next step is we're going to review the Kamala Harris HQ. This is kind of like their Zoomer overture on X.com. They have over 1 million followers, and we're going to go through like the past few days of content and see where their messaging is on and off. Okay, let's just kind of analyze it for what it is. So right now, hold on. So first and foremost, we have Mark Robinson, who is the, I think he's the candidate for governor, I believe, of North Carolina. He's like this black preacher, or at least he just comes off that way. Very charismatic guy, somewhat unpopular. He kind of has the Carrie Lake effect where he has all the Trump support minus some people that are kind of like more on the moderate end. And so he's likely to be very close in a very closely contested election against a guy named Josh Stein, the Democrat. So if you look at this post with over 1 million impressions, you'll notice that Kamala HQ says Donald Trump is holding a rally in North Carolina today with Mark Robinson, a virulent misogynist, anti-Semite, and far-right MAGA extremist. So think about it. So they're trying to throw all the epithets at Trump. Look, this does not work. Okay, using like, oh, misogynists, extremists, like the Islamophobics, those sort of things, does not work on Donald Trump. Why? Because you saw how that worked out in 2016. And in fact, in 2020, while obviously people were more liberal than in 16, kind of, they in certain points kind of knew a little more to like kind of calm it down in the SJW talk. And also like using anti-Semite in a term with Donald Trump is asinine when he has Jewish grandchildren. And so it just doesn't really make sense. And also Kamala is definitely not as pro-Zionist as is Trump, who's a complete dyed-in-the-wool, like pro-Netanyahu type. I mean, the Golan Heights in Israel are named after Trump Heights. Okay, so come on. Now, look at this phrasing. Trump praises Mark Robinson, who said he, quote, absolutely wants to go back to the time where in America where women couldn't vote, which is asinine because obviously that's out of context. And I think anybody who isn't nuts would see that as a very, very big reach. Now, I haven't even played it yet, so let's get it.
I want to thank a very good man, and he's in there fighting. He's fighting, and we know he's a fighter. The next governor of North Carolina, Mark Robinson. Thanks, Mark. Mrs. Robinson, thank you. They're a great, great couple. Thank you both. Thank you very much. Thank you both.
So that was as milquetoast as you could have gotten it from Trump. He's just saying, look, this is a great, and he says that about everybody who is endorsing. I bet you a good portion, dozens of people that he's endorsed in the past, he doesn't even know past like seeing them once in an elevator. Okay, so like for him to be like, oh, Mark Robinson, he's the best. You don't even know what that means half the time. He's a fucking businessman. Okay, he gets along with everybody, as he would say. So using these sort of line of attacks are stupid. To just say like, okay, here's this like guy running in North Carolina, and Trump kind of like tacitly endorsed them without any sort of depth of like, oh, this guy's so great because of X, Y, and Z, and then say like, oh, we're gonna get the most negative things he said in the past 15 years and use it against Trump, and then call a guy who's super pro-Jew and implicating him by being friends with a guy who's an anti-Semite is just so stupid. It's really dumb. Again, think about winning over moderates and not just Democrats. Now, Trump spends his economy speech complaining about how Kamala Harris is on the cover of the Time magazine. Let's see.
Putting her on the covers of Time magazine with an artist sketch. They don't use a picture. They don't use a picture. They use an artist sketch. I want to use that artist. I want to find that artist. I like him very much.
Okay. This is kind of more of what you need. Okay, so on this perspective, you've got the method of attack that says like, oh, JD Vance and Donald Trump are just plain weird, which is you know, as a conservative, it pisses me off because it's such a non sequitur. It really gets under my skin. But maybe that's why it works so well. So I'm not even going to player hate. I'm objective to that extent. But when it comes down to this tweet right here, I think this is smart because, again, Trump goes on these tangents that people like me that support him think are funny. But if you're not really partial to Trump, you think like this is kind of fucking weird. Like he's talking about like a sketch on a magazine. Okay, thank you.
When I left office, I handed Kamala and crooked Joe Biden a surging economy with. When I left office.
Okay, so they're doing a fact check on Trump, which also doesn't really work. When you get all these guys that are balding on CNN saying like, oh, we're gonna fact check Trump. Oh my God, he lied. How many times has that gone into the wind? Okay, this is just more fodder to the base. We need to keep in mind, again, you need to win people in the middle. You know, Kamala is winning by like 1 percentage points in all these swing states, and she only has 45% of the vote. So it's like, dude, you have 10% of undecideds. You gotta get those people in line, okay? You can assume that you don't need to have like any liberal takes that are crazy because those liberal people already hate Trump, and so you've got those in the bag. It's about getting the people in the middle that are not crazy. Okay.
I don't think so. Damn possible. But they've never held a private sector job in their entire professional careers, and it's no. I don't think so. Damn possible.
Okay, so again, out of context, I don't even remember what the context says, but he says like, oh, you know, they don't have experience because they're not in the private sector. He's probably talking about like some government employee, but the Kamala people twist that and say it's because teachers and military service members don't have real jobs. So again, taking him, it's a bad faith critique. It's literally just lying. That's bad.
High cost energy policy.
Sorry.
What does that mean? Extreme high cost energy policy known as net zero. You know what? Net zero. They have no idea what it means, by the way. It's net zero. What does that mean? Nobody knows. Ask her what it means. We're going to go to a net zero policy. What does that mean? I have no idea.
Now, this is another smart thing. They take one of his rambles that, again, somebody like me who's partial to Donald Trump would think is pretty funny. And then I don't know, I'm just going to assume Kamala's writing this, which she definitely isn't. But look, Trump, net zero, they have no idea what it means. By the way, it's net zero. What does that even mean? Nobody knows. Net zero policy. What does that even mean? I have no idea. So the way they phrase it and they sequence this is facetious, but it could actually convince the people to think like, what the fuck is wrong with Donald? He's so like, what? It's so good.
Around and around, and darling, let's watch the president's State of the Union speech tonight. I'm sorry, we won't be able to do it. The wind isn't blowing, darling. We have no electricity. We have no electricity, darling. We won't be able to watch tonight, but perhaps sometime during the week it will be blowing and we'll be able to get our television on it.
Okay, so it says here, Trump says he opposes wind energy because he thinks his TV would turn off when the wind isn't blowing. This is another funny thing. Again, this is like TikTok fodder. Again, I, as a Republican, think this is like facetious as hell. Like, obviously, there's a good reason why you could be opposed to spending taxpayer money on windmills when there's better use of our taxpayer funds. But at the same time, if you just put it that way, it's pretty funny. Again, it doesn't come off like bitter, like when they try to call Mark Robinson like a a misogynist. Like, dude, like chill out, like you're being cringe. Now when you're saying like, oh yeah, Uncle Trump, like he's retarded when it comes to the wind thing. Okay, that's actually pretty funny.
Never really got the credit we deserved for that with the ventilators and all of the different things that we did, the outfits, a lot of things. We were producing in New Hampshire and different places, masks. We had mask factories opening. So
Trump says, I never got credit for COVID. Over 1 million Americans died, and he told us to inject bleach. So again, this is another misstep by the Kamala people. So I'm just nitpicking stuff that they ought to get in line. Okay, so like if I'm being an editorialist on their Twitter so that they can get their messaging correct, that's basically the LARP I'm doing. So 1 million people died from COVID. Okay, first of all, more people died under Biden than did Trump. That's been established. So that's just a stupid thing. Because like if you said that on a debate stage, he would just retort and be like, hey, actually more people died under you guys. So that'd be stupid as hell if they ever mentioned that. So this is just begging ignorance of the audience. And I think a lot of the 18-year-old voters that Kamala is relying on probably do not know better. Also, they're claiming that Trump told people to inject bleach, which is not true. I mean, even the Snopes, like even the liberal fact checker said that was not true. Like he did not actually say that.
Tried to take credit for $35 insulin. You know that. You know who did that? I did that. I did the insulin.
So again, this one's kind of interesting. So Trump is salty that the Harris people and the Biden people added to his insulin cap thing already of $35, and they like added some more provisions that made it better objectively. And so Trump's saying like, I don't get credit for that. And so then Kamala's saying, oh no, you're lying. You didn't do shit. So they're both lying here, kind of, but whatever. It's a wash.
They asked the head of the Prime Minister of Hungary, very tough man, strong man, very, somebody that I always got along. I get along with the strong ones. I don't get along with the weak ones. Isn't that sad? That's a personality defect. And they asked the head of the Prime Minister of Hungary, very tough.
Okay, this is so stupid. Again, this does not make sense. Trump says he gets along with autocrats and dictators instead of America's allies. Isn't that sad? That's a personality defect. So they're saying like he's owning himself here, but not really. I think even a person in the middle, and that's the way I'm trying to break it down. I'm not saying as a conservative. I'm saying just as somebody who's drinking a six-pack. I just finished the preseason game against the Eagles and the Patriots. Okay, so what's up here? Oh, I'm on Twitter. All right, so this is not a good own against Trump. He gets along with the stronger people, and then he, like, as a self-deprecating joke says, it's a personality defect. That shows that he's self-aware about like how crazy it sounds. So I mean, that's just not a good own. All right, headphone users, be careful. Okay, watch.
A VP debate with CBS. Have you accepted? Are you?
Okay, so JD Vance is getting off his plane. He's literally like 40 feet away from the nearest like reporter, and they're yelling at him with like the airplane yelling out loud. You know what I mean? Like whenever you get off a plane through the stairs, it's loud as hell, those engines. And so like to assume they even hear him, or if JD even hears them, is like presumptuous to say the least. And even if he does, could he not answer it in a more appropriate venue? And does Kamala ever like hop off the plane and answer questions? Not so often, I think. Okay, now this is an attack against JD Vance. Let's see how this lines up. Again, like the video if you're into this sort of in-depth sort of nerd sort of things. I might give myself pink eye. I've been staring at the screen all day. It's past midnight, but we're in the trenches of this election. It's a time in history you don't want to miss out. I'm 21, in the prime of things. Let's get right into it. They're attacking JD. They're quoting him by saying that the whole purpose of the postmenopausal female is to raise the grandchildren, and that helping raise children is a weird and unadvertised feature of marrying an Indian woman. So stuff that sounds kind of out of pocket, obviously. So let's see what he says.
And you can sort of see the effect it has on him to be around them. Like, they spoil him. There's sort of all the classic stuff that grandparents do to grandchildren. But it makes him a much better human being to have exposure to his grandparents.
Well, I don't know.
And the evidence on this, by the way, is like super clear.
That's the whole purpose of the postmenopausal female, in theory. Did your in-laws, and particularly your mother-in-law, show up in some huge way?
She lived with us for a year.
Right.
So,
So I didn't know the answer to that.
Right, no,
that's this weird unadvertised feature of marrying an Indian woman.
No, it's in some ways the most transgressive thing I've ever done against sort of the hyper neoliberal approach to work and family. My wife had this baby 7 weeks before she started the clerkship, still not sleeping any more than an hour and a half in a given interval. And her mom just took a sabbatical. She's a biology professor in California. Just took a sabbatical for a year and came and lived with us and took care of our kid for a year. Okay, so it was just one of these things where it's like, this is what you do.
So biology professor, PhD.
So he's a minute in. He hasn't said anything untoward. Again, when you quote JD or you quote Donald Trump and the clip that you're trying to use as evidence is like completely not in line with what you're saying, it ruins your credibility. It shows that you're capping, that you're exaggerating, that you're a trifling ass Twitter account. Okay. So thus far, a minute in, he hasn't said anything crazy. He just said, okay, look, I have a traditional Indian family that I'm married into. And so therefore the grandma comes and helps my wife for a year while she's like struggling with the kid. And that's a good thing about Indians, is that they have that culture, and the white people don't really do it as often, is the implication, which I can relate to because obviously when I was born, my mom's mom helped around the house. So, I mean, this is just normal for like third world countries, I guess, because I'm Mexican, but I mean, nothing crazy yet.
Yes.
Drops what they're doing.
Yeah.
To immediately tend to the needs of a new mother with her infant.
Painfully economically inefficient. Right?
Can I just propose?
Like, why didn't she just keep her job, give us part of the wages to pay somebody else to do it, right? Because that is the thing that the hyper liberalized economics wants you to do. The economic logic of always.
Did they just edit him? Hold on. Did they just cut something?
Because that is the thing that the hyper liberalized economics wants you to do. The economic logic.
They literally edited the clip, bro. Come on, bro. Like, I'm trying to like be fair here and like give Kamala some tips, but like, dude, why the fuck you're selectively editing now? If I'm okay, Joe Sixpack, assuming he didn't finish the 6-pack and he's sober enough to tell, he'd be like, what the fuck? I'm about to spit out my drink. You're saying all these things about JD making him look like a creep and a weirdo. Oh, he's just plain weird, guys. I'm Tim Walz. I'm Tampon Tim. And then they selectively edit this. Okay, please, for the love of God, just listen for like 10 seconds. Watch.
hyper liberalized economics wants you to do.
You see that? Whoa.
Liberalized economics wants you to do. The economic.
Oh, one more time. One more time. One more time.
That the hyper liberalized economics wants you to do. The economic.
See,
economic logic of always prioritizing paid wage labor over other forms of contributing to a society is to me, it's actually a consequence of a sort of fundamental liberalism that is ultimately going to unwind and collapse upon itself. I think it's the abandonment of a sort of Aristotelian virtue politics for a hyper market oriented way of thinking about what's good and what's desirable. If people are paying for it and it contributes to GDP and it makes the economic consumption numbers rise, then it's good. And if it doesn't, it's bad. I think that entire sort of, to me, that's sort of the root of our political problem.
Dude, there was literally nothing wrong with what he said that. Oh, sorry. That's ironic because I just botched the sentence. Biden moment. Sorry, he's possessing me. But look, truth is that he said nothing wrong here. Even as somebody who's not conservative and you're listening to this hypothetically as an undecided voter in Michigan, what did he say that was so weird? Like, oh yeah, there's a benefit to old values from, let's say, Indians that like, oh yeah, she took a sabbatical from her professorship so that she can come help my wife take care of my son or whatever.
And you can sort of see
the thing. That's a good thing. What I mean, what the like what's the complaint? I don't get it. Let's look at the replies because and see what their target demographic is. So first and foremost, we have Bill DeMaio that says, lol, this guy's like every incel meme wrapped into that one guy's sofa king weird. What? Again, like, get your head out of Twitter, bro. These Kamala people need to like log off, touch grass, and talk to normal people. Okay? What about this guy? This is totally not weird behavior for two dudes to talk about postmenopausal women. Oh my God, I can't even handle these guys. Okay, now look at this person, Island Girl. My mother helped me with my children when they were born, and my husband would never have ever classified her as the nanny. She helped us because she wanted to and not because she was fulfilling a job as a postmenopausal woman. So you see, that's the people that this sort of clip appeals to. People that are kvetching over whether or not you say postmenopausal women or nanny or grandma that just so happens to do everything a nanny does, and you're probably giving her room and board and food. But you see, like, what the, like, really? Again, we're going to like talk to Kim Jong-un and Xi Jinping and presumably like the next Hitler. Like if some dictator arises, you want Kamala to deal with this. But her clientele here is just bitching about whether or not you use one term for your grandma or another one. Seriously. So let's skim over these little Fox clips. So first and foremost, you see here, is there any doubt that you will vote, debate on October 1st against Tim Walz on CBS? Van says, look, we want to look. But we're not going to do one of those fake debates. We're not going to do a garbage debate. So what JD is saying here, in all honesty, is that he's like, okay, well, if they, manipulate these circumstances to like mute my mic and there's going to be no audience, and obviously CBS is going to be very, very far left relative to what JD wants, then you could see how he can call it a garbage debate. Kamala and her ilk are going to be like, oh, we're going to try to pass it off as if it's like, oh, you're just wanting a Fox News debate. But it's like, dude, is every single debate going to be hosted by CNN, ABC, CNBC, MSDNC, whatever? Like, dude, come on, really? And so for the sake of Kamala's election prospects, stop doubling down on this bullshit. Like, oh my God, he's ducking the debate. Like, because he already agreed to it. So for you to do that, kind of just like waste time. All right, so this one's a doozy. So on this day 7 years ago, Donald Trump said white supremacists and neo-Nazis marching into Charlottesville are very fine people, end quote. This has been a hoax that's been repeated for years, better part of a decade. I mean, this is Joe Biden's whole spiel. Remember, he's like, when I saw them with the torches spitting that anti-Semitic bile, and if you were to ask Joe what was that bile, he'd be like, corn pop. Anyway, let's see what Kamala does here.
They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group, but you also had people that were very fine people on both.
Okay, you see what the quote was. He said, again, in reference to people, people don't even know what the Charlottesville thing was. People vaguely remember that somebody died that was like not Nazi and that there were Nazis at the thing, and that's all they know. Realistically, it was a Unite the Right rally. Again, I was like 14, so like I'm just looking at it from back, when I started reading about it 5 years ago. Truth is, obviously, that Charlottesville was over protecting the monuments of, I think, Robert E. Lee, namely, in Virginia. And then there were obviously people that infiltrated it, people that were like super far right or whatever, but there were also like MAGA patriots in the most commonsensical way. So that's what Trump is referring to. There were bad people, but also fine people.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
Okay, so Trump couldn't be more clear. And again, you might have worded it differently in hindsight just because these people are vultures. But I think most common sense Americans, again, Joe Sixpack would say, come on, really? Like, he didn't say very fine people as a good thing. He's just saying, like, you know, there's, let's say you have a rally where it's like 50% Antifa or like liberals that want to take down the Robert E. Lee statue. Then you've got like 30% that are like MAGA people that are defending the statue. And then 20% of, which is a fraction of the Republican support, and saying like, okay, these are the Richard Spencer types and the people that will say they will not replace us and other stuff like that, those sort of tropes. So yeah, no, Trump at all is not endorsing anything like of the bad stuff. Like, are you kidding me? So these sort of things don't fly. And what's weird is that this gets over 3 million views. So it goes viral, but it only has 9,000 likes. Interesting. Now look, I don't even know what video is above me, but look at this. It has, look, this one has 400,000 views and 16,000 likes. So you have double the likes despite only having 1/8 of the views, which shows that this is sensationalist, but people don't like the clip because the clip is facetious. So this is actually hurting Kamala HQ. It is. So if I were Kamala, if I were in charge of the campaign, delete this. If you want to win the election, you want this map, baby. You want that? You want this 319 to 219? Delete this tweet. Okay, so apparently they're talking about how Medicare is saving people money, which again is a W for them. I haven't looked into it at all. Is there a catch? Yeah, probably. I mean, this whole thing of like, oh, we're gonna negotiate with big pharma so that they can take a hit on their profits and then have no side effects. Like, what the fuck? Like, what are you like gonna? It doesn't even make sense. Like, what's in it for them? Instead of charging $400 for insulin, you will charge only $35. And then the pharma company that, again, has all the leverage in the world would be like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure, totally. Art of the deal, Kamala style. Okay, great. Now let's look at this one. JD calls women without kids, and quote, sociopathic, childless cat ladies, psychotic, deranged, miserable. Weird behavior is the caption. Look, I mean, this appeals, again, to the base, but you need more than the base to win this election. You need the base plus the undecideds, plus the moderates, plus the independents, right? Okay, so let's go down the list. Sociopathic. If I'm Joe Sixpack, does JD really call women without kids sociopathic as somebody who doesn't know who JD really is past the fact that he's a senator that's on Trump's ticket? Probably doesn't think women are sociopathic. So this seems like cap. So already hurting Kamala's reputation. Childless cat ladies. I mean, he did say that kind of. Psychotic. Did he really say that? I doubt it. Deranged. Doubt he said that. Miserable. Maybe he said that. So you can see how like adding all these like poison fruits with stuff that otherwise would be like good roast ruins the credibility. Now, this video is actually pretty promising for Kamala. I'm not going to lie. This is pretty devastating. Unearthed video of Project 2025 leader Russ Vought. Trump is claiming to distance himself from 25, but he's not worried about it. And that Trump's been at their organization and he's raised money for the organization and he's supportive of what they do. So they did like the reverse Project Veritas where they pretended to be Republicans or something. And they basically taped and they recorded the Project 2025 people saying like, yeah, no, Trump, no, don't worry, we're going to sneak it in once Trump wins. And so this is totally what they were saying was going to happen when they said that, yeah, Project 2025 might be destroyed, but actually they're going to implement it regardless. And JD wrote the forward for the project anyway. And so, I mean, they're vindicated on this at least. So I'm going to give them credit for that. That is true. So, okay, this is a double-edged sword. So Trump lies, Biden, Harris deliver. Okay, so after meeting with pharma lobbyists, Trump drops promise to negotiate drug prices. And then here says Medicare announces lower prices on 10 common high-cost drugs. So here's the problem with this. You could hold this over Trump's head for sure. Definitely you should, politically. But to say Biden, Harris, again, poison chalice. Biden, Harris is losing on almost every issue. And you have a couple of things going for you, like abortion, democracy for people that care, Like insofar as like, oh, the election result, will you deny them? Stuff like this. And, Medicare, will we cut prices on like a fraction of people? Okay. But to say Biden-Harris, again, is tying you to the other 8 out of 10 things that are bad, though. So this is an L, actually. Okay, this one, analyst. We have about 16 Nobel laureates that come out and say that Trump's economic policy will lead to an inflation bomb and that tax increases for 90% of Americans. So, look, this doesn't really fly. I don't need to listen to the audio, but like reading this doesn't even make sense. So they're saying Trump's policy would make an inflation bomb. Well, first of all, you're the incumbent administration, presumably, with the inflation problem to begin with. So you cannot all of a sudden just project and do a Goebbels and be like, I'm going to accuse you of what I'm doing exactly. That's asinine, and people can see through it. And so, I mean, the commonsensical take is that Joe Sixpack will say, was inflation worse during Trump or Biden-Harris? So, I mean, and you could complain and be like, well, it's not actually the case, but no, it is. I mean, that's how people perceive it. And to say that tax increases on 90% of Americans when Trump's known for the tax cut on the rich, like, come on, like, you know how these narratives don't make sense? Like, oh, Trump cut taxes by too much. Oh, but then also he's going to increase taxes. It literally doesn't make sense. All right, look at this. So statement on the debates. So the debate on debates is over. They agreed to 2 presidential debates between Kamala and Trump. You have also the Walz versus JD on October 1st. Voters deserve to see candidates for the highest office in the land share their competing visions for our future. The more they play games, the more insecure and unserious Trump and Vance reveal themselves to be with the American people. Those games end now. Like, well, what games exactly? Like, yeah, you're arguing about like certain rules about the debate. That's very important. In fact, if this were a normal election, the government, like a third party, would have handled this very much more extensively than they are now. And so, like, they're not playing games really. If anything, Kamala's playing games, and it's pretty clear because, again, she agreed to 2 presidential debates when normally there's 3. And you could say, oh, well, I mean, there's less time to do them, but it's like, bro, I mean, what? You can't do one the first week of September, one September 20th, one October 5th or something? Oh, no. Okay, thank you. Again, this one. Thanks to President Biden, Medicare is negotiating lower prescription drug costs. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. This is not smart. Again, if I were Kamala, pretend like Joe Biden doesn't exist. Pretend like Joe Biden doesn't exist. What the fuck? Like, what are you thinking, dude? Oh, and also this Medicare thing. Yeah, it's popular, but it's a very niche thing. We're talking about increasing something that already existed under Trump for Medicare Part D recipients. So, I mean, it's a very, people that paid over $35 for insulin were already in the small minority, like maybe 10 to 25% of people did. So this is asinine. All right, so look at this. Pennsylvania Republican, after Jan 6, I realized Trump cannot be the president of the United States. He's dangerous for the country, and his first term showed us what he's capable of. I don't think American people want to go through that again. So this is a Republican for Harris, allegedly. Here's the problem, though. If this was such a good talking point, then how come Harris is only beating Trump on democracy, which implicates obviously Jan 6 and how unpopular that was? How come she's only beating Trump by 4 on that issue? Refer to my last video, by the way. It's evident that this whole like Jan 6 thing might seem like just like dead meat. And what I mean is like it's fodder for the base, but it's not really getting Joe Sixpack to really care. I mean, that was years ago. And yeah, did that tank Trump for like several weeks? Yes. But like they tried to impeach him over it a second time and it just didn't work. So again, this messaging doesn't also work. As evidenced by the pretty small amount of views. Again, over 1 million followers, less than 300,000 views. Now, this tweet says, Representative Jake Auk, says, to Fox, Kamala Harris is debating Trump in September and the contrast will be stark. Donald Trump will be talking about raising taxes on the average American by up to $2,500 and giving tax breaks to billionaires. Kamala will be talking about prescription drugs and making housing more affordable. Well, this is like threefold, really. First of all, to accuse Donald Trump of raising taxes is stupid as fuck because, again, we're talking about undecided voters, people that aren't really informed. You could say, oh, well, the tariffs will increase taxes, and that's kind of a nebulous thing to say. But even more so than that, when you look at Trump, the whole critique is, bro, oh, he did a $2 trillion tax cut. So to say like, oh, he's going to raise your taxes is asinine. And then on the other end to say tax breaks to billionaires. You see how that doesn't even make sense? Raising taxes by an average of X, but then also cutting them by Y, even if it is for billionaires, it would also trickle down. And so it's not a good attack line. And also, Kamala Harris talking about prescription drugs, that's already been addressed. Also, housing more affordable. Again, why don't you just fix it now? Why do you have to wait until 25? What the fuck? Like what? Like Joe is president. Tell him to do it. Look at this one. It's a doozy. Trump says he opposes Biden-Harris law lowering prescription drug costs for millions of Americans, calling it a con job.
Their Inflation Reduction Act, by the way, was a disaster. It's what caused the inflation. Their Inflation Reduction Act was a con job. Their inflation.
Okay. So again, another obvious lie. They suck at this, dude. Like, seriously, why do you have to do this? You don't have to lie this much. So the implication with the quote is to say, like, oh, Donald Trump is calling the capping of insulin cost to $35 as a con job. That would be an awful thing to say, obviously, politically. He's not saying that. He's saying the Inflation Reduction Act from like 3 years ago was a con job because it increased inflation. That's what That's what he means. Now, technically, is there a provision in there that does the insulin thingy? Yes, but that wasn't what he was talking about. And I think most people can understand that, as evidenced by the lack of views. There's only 200,000 in an account with 6 times that. Now, okay, now we have Trump spends 45 minutes confused, rambling instead of taking questions at his so-called press conference. I haven't seen Cheerios in a long time. So 2 questions here. We're over 40 minutes in, so like the video if you're still here. Comment if you're still this far into the video. I'm doing this for fun, baby. Okay, anyway, so there's a lot of issues with the statement. First of all, they're criticizing him for not being serious enough at his own press conference, which is funny because Harris hasn't even had one in a month. 1. 2, they'll clip out Trump rambling, which I agree is a bad look for Trump, just out of context, but also understand that when they were clipping Joe Biden, like literally falling asleep, botching entire sentences and paragraphs, they said, oh, it's AI, these are deep fakes or whatever, or, you know, they're nitpicking, but this is not nitpicking. Okay.
But look at this over here. What a nice job. I think I'm going to take some of them back to my cottage and have a lot of fun. Like the Cheerios. I haven't seen Cheerios in a long time. I'm going to take them back with. But look at.
He's just joking. Like, who cares? Okay. So, well, I'll just
stop with the personal attacks on Kamala Harris and deliver a more disciplined message. Do you agree? And also, you added more people to your campaign today. Yeah. Is that a sign of a shifting strategy?
No, I think it's a sign of we want to close it out. We have great people. Susie's fantastic, as you know, and Chris is fantastic. They're leading it. Corey Lewandowski's coming in. He'll be, a personal envoy, or he'll be at some level. They're going to be, they're doing a great job. Look, we've taken, with all of the abuse we've taken from the fake news media, all of this horrific abuse we take. And all I want to do is make the country good. All I want to do is have strong borders and good education. We want to have choice for education. Someone put so many different things. You would think it would be the other way. We rebuilt the military. We did so many great things. But that's the way it's been for Republicans, and I guess more so for me than anybody in history. And that's okay, because we're leading in the polls. For the most part, we're leading in the polls. We were leading Biden by a lot. We're leading now. But I think when she's...
Okay, 2/3 of the clip in, and he hasn't said anything about what's in the quote. Again, the quote says, I'm angry at her. I don't have respect for her. She attacks me. She just calls me weird. Does that sound like something Trump would say, number one, especially the last part right here? Obviously not. And he still hasn't said it yet.
I think we're going to beat her by a lot more than we would have beaten Biden by, because he had a little group of people that have been voting for him for a long time. She doesn't have that. People don't know who she is. As far as the personal attacks, her because of what she's done to the country.
Okay. Was that a selective edit, or was there a glitch?
Because of what she's done to the country.
Hold on.
As far as the personal attacks, her because of what she's done to the country. I'm very angry at her that she'd weaponized.
Oh my God. So that was supposed to be this. Okay, let's see how much that lines up.
Her because of what she's done to the country.
Okay, the quote they used from Trump, okay, assuming they didn't, they're assuming, this is how little they respect the voter. They're assuming Joe Sixpack doesn't watch a 2-minute fucking video, okay? That's how stupid they think you are. But look at this. Trump, I'm angry at her. I don't have respect for her. She attacks me. This is not the right quote. He says, I'm angry at her for how she abused the country. Watch.
As far as the personal attacks, her because of what she's done to the country.
What she's done to the country?
I'm very angry at her that she'd weaponized the justice system against.
She weaponized the justice system. Where is that in the quote?
Me and other people. Very angry at her. I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence. And I think she'll be a terrible president. And I think it's very important that we win. And whether the personal attacks are good, bad, I mean, she certainly attacks me personally. She actually called me weird. He's weird. It was just a soundbite.
This was such a facetious edit. Like, I swear. And then also with the JD thing, I mean, you guys comment down below if you agree with me. They literally just cut out a chunk of the speech or whatever of the podcast. Like, I played it over 5 times. I'm like that autistic, but like, seriously, bro. So now Harris is doubling down on the what do you call it? Harris is doubling down on the weird allegations. Let's see.
She actually called me weird. He's weird. It was just a soundbite. And she called JD and I weird. He's not weird. He was a great student at Yale. He went to Ohio State, graduated in 2 years. At the top of his class, and all of these different things. And we have this guy that's running a very failed state, who's had a terrible career. I mean, you have him saying they're weird. No, he's a weird guy. And she's weird in her policy. She actually called me weird.
Okay, so he has, I mean, you could argue whether or not an independent voter would be kind of like, okay, that's funny, or dude, what the hell are you talking about? I could see it either way. So maybe that's a wash. The clip is a wash, but look at the quote. Trump, Kamala Harris is calling me weird. She called JD weird. He's not weird. So you're making it sound like Trump is like an 8-year-old saying he's not gay. Like, I'm not gay. I'm not weird. That's not at all how he came off. Again, the problem with what they're doing is not the lying, because obviously lying is kind of in the game. It's politics, and I'm kind of like sociopathic enough to kind of divorce that from the analysis. It's more so that if you lie so often and it's so easy to pick up on, people will not trust you. It's the boy cried wolf, but it's the boy cried Donald Trump is going to totally destroy America. How many election cycles are we going to run with this BS again? Okay, this one might be a good one for the Democrats, low-key. It says, Trump, a convicted felon, says, I'm immune from everything they charge me with. Now, the perception from Joe Sixpack would be like, damn, what the fuck? That sounds unrealistic or unreasonable. So let's see what he says.
As you know, the Supreme Court ruled recently on immunity, and I'm immune from all of the stuff that they charge me with.
Okay, so as you can see there, so that is a bad look for Donald Trump. Like, objectively, even Joe Sixpack would be like, oh yeah, this guy's a douche or something like that. And I think technically, I don't think he's immune from prosecution over the 34 counts thing. Obviously, that thing was bogus to begin with, but like over what the Supreme Court said, those had nothing to do with each other. So, okay, CNN cuts away from Trump's press conference after he pushes 2020 lies and conspiracies. Okay, let's see.
And we did very well in 2016, and we did much better.
All right, we're going to continue to monitor this news conference. Trump at his golf club in New Jersey, in Bedminster, New Jersey. Lots to discuss, to assess right now. Kristen Holmes.
Dude, really? That's not a good look for you Democrats. Are you kidding me? Like, if he's lying, then just obviously let him lie and let him hang himself, but they won't let him do it. Why? Why is that? It just kind of, it's kind of like sunlight is the best disinfectant, but like in the reverse, okay? Like, if you're hiding it so much, then maybe there's some credibility to what he's saying. If you're a Democrat and you think that Joe Biden got more votes than Barack Obama, you think that Donald Trump is an idiot, then why not let him ramble about how, Joe Biden totally did this and X and Y and Georgia was this and Brian Kemp, and like let him hang himself rhetorically. But they won't, because what? They're scared? Well, that's the takeaway. If I'm an undecided voter, I'm saying like, why the fuck are they censoring the guy? Like, what? Just let him cook? I don't know. Okay. Let's see how bad faith this is. Question: you praise Elon Musk for firing workers who are striking for better pay and working conditions. Are you really comfortable with giving companies firing workers who go on strike? And then Trump says, well, he wants to run an efficient economy or company. Okay, let's go.
I want to ask you about that. You praise how he treats workers, saying they go on strike and you say that's okay, you're all gone, so every one of you is gone. Are you really comfortable with companies threatening to fire workers who go on strike?
Well, no, I want companies to get workers that are going to love them and work for a wage that lets the company make a profit so they can go and expand. In that case, they moved, as you know, the company from California, Elon, from California to Texas, because they were able to get things that California wouldn't give. And I did ask him one question. You're moving a very big company out of California that's been there for years into Texas. Did the governor ever call you and say, like, let's work it out because we don't want to lose you? And he said he never called. Governor Newsom, he never called. And you would have thought, if I were governor of California and if Elon or anybody else, they have oil companies leaving, I would be calling. But no, Elon wants to run an efficient company, and if he has to he got rid of a lot of people on X, or former Twitter, like a lot of people gone, and it still works. It still works. So you got to run the company productively, and there are going to be a lot of jobs around.
Yeah, this really is an NL for Trump. I mean, he just explained it as it is. Like, okay, look, California's going to crap. Most people agree with that. Joe Sixpack agrees with that in Michigan. Gavin Newsom sucks. Okay, to the moderate voter, that's true too. And yeah, Elon fired people that were causing a problem in California, and he moved the company as a result, or something like that. Okay, that checks out. Okay, the Harris response to the Trump press conference in New Bedminster, New Jersey, I believe. Okay, so watch this. Our statement on Trump's ... whatever that was. Again, it's like, I don't know, is it Lizzie McGuire? Is it Mean Girls? Like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what in the 13-year-old girl is that? Our statement on Trump's whatever that was. Bro, this is a presidential campaign. What is the country gone to? Whatever that was. Okay, so Sharpay is writing the tweets now. Crazy work. But anyway, at his country club, Donald Trump huffed and puffed his opposition to lowering food costs for middle and working class Americans. Okay, dude, what the fuck? Dude, you're a professional campaign, Kamala. Huffed and puffed. Okay, so now you're referencing the big bad wolf and like Red Riding Hood, I think, or something. Like, dude, what the like, really? Again, we're adults here. Insane. What the like, what, really? Like, you know, the people that get this reference in fresh memory are too young to vote. So like, why even do it? Anyway, so food costs for middle and working class Americans and prescription drug costs for seniors before pivoting back to his usual lies and delusions. So that's a lie. No surprise, Trump doesn't want to defend his agenda that would raise costs of families by about $4,000 a year, cut Social Security, and eliminate the Affordable Care Act. Also, he can give his rich donors tax breaks. Again, this would feed the base, but you need to win over the middle. And the middle is going to have not a confirmation bias like a liberal would reading this. Joe Sixpack would say, how the hell is the guy who cut my taxes 5 years ago going to be the one that raises them by 4,000 and not the Democrats? Okay, so this doesn't work. That kind of like is shooting yourself in the foot if you're Kamala. Cutting Social Security. How the hell is he going to cut Social Security? On what basis? When did he ever say that? And when did he ever do it as president? And isn't he the one that started the idea of no taxing Social Security income? So if I'm on Social Security and I'm in Michigan and I'm one of these swing voters, I'm going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're lying now? And then eliminate the Affordable Care Act. That's a stretch. Because what, in 2017, he wanted to repeal the least popular aspects and have like a diet Obamacare where you retain the pre-existing conditions, but you got rid of the taxes that they were levied as mandates on the American people. Okay, wow, that's so crazy. So anybody with a functioning memory would know that this is also somewhat of a lie. Bottom paragraph. The American people cannot trust a word Donald Trump says, but they can trust Vice President Kamala Harris, who has spent her life taking on fraudsters, cheaters, criminals like Donald Trump to make our country safer and lower costs for the middle class. So it's a pretty awful statement. Okay, I understand the gimmick of the video was like me trying to help Kamala win, but I've never gone through more than 2 minutes worth of Kamala HQ, and I'm like losing my head, okay? It's about to blow up. I'm going to be the headless horseman very soon. Listen. The analyst says Trump is the okay. I don't even.
Before we get into the sort of funhouse of interpreting what motivates and inspires Donald Trump, it's worth just stepping back from it for a second to remember that this is the nominee of the Republican Party, and he is deeply unhinged. Yes. And he is getting worse. You know, his hearing appears to be getting worse. He's slurring his speech.
Okay, so what in the absolute gaslight is this? The same people that right before the presidential debate were like, oh, Joe Biden's going to mop the floor. Oh, he's not too old. He's actually sharper than he's ever been. Looking at you, Joe Scarborough, by the way. He's saying, oh my God, Trump, oh, his hearing's going bad. What? Why? Why would it be going bad? What do you mean? What is that even from? And even if it is, maybe he just got shot in the ear. Like maybe that is, you know, it's going to heal, bro. Like chill out. And then like, oh, he's slurring his speech. How? What? Dude, what are they on, bro?
And he aspires to lead the most powerful nation on the planet from the White House. And while all of this stuff is fun to poke fun at, which it should be, and it is weird, which it is, it's also much more profoundly dangerous and troubling because he's not fit for office. Now, having set it all up with that, part of the Hannibal Lecter references, I think, come from the fact that Donald Trump actually thinks that migrants seeking asylum belong in insane asylums, and Hannibal Lecter wasn't in an asylum, and he can't really separate the difference from the two. So that's raw ignorance. Before we get into
it's just so cringe. I mean, tell me this is not just only appeal to like Hillary Clinton 2016 voters, okay? And I mean, you're the ones that are calling the Republicans weird, but I mean, just phenotypically, again, I don't want to get too into detail as I want to keep my channel, but like seriously, like look at this guy, for example. Like you should just buzz it all the way off, like get rid of it, bro. And then, I mean, on the other hand, I'm not even going to touch it, okay? But I mean, come on, they're calling us weird. Tampon Tim, really? Anyway, let's see. Okay, this one looks really brutal for Donald Trump. This looks really bad. But we'll
I have
see.
to say, Miriam, I watched Sheldon sitting so proud in the White House when we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. It's very... And they're rated equal, I have to say.
Okay, so they're nitpicking Trump by saying that he basically got a donor Medal of Honor of some sort that the president does. You know, like the meme where you put on the medal and it's like Obama putting on the medallion or whatever. Okay, He's saying like, oh, this is cool because, you could otherwise get like a congressional medal of honor. It's equal to this presidential one. But those are for soldiers, and the soldiers have to like deal with like being shot at and stuff, unlike Tim Walz. And so like, you're better off because at least you're intact and stuff, and you still get the same value of the medal. And I guess people are saying that's in poor taste, even though that Donald Trump didn't mean anything bad by it. I mean, obviously, it's a stupid thing to say politically. It's not wise, but it's also like, okay, who really cares? So I think a lot of people would come away with my takeaway there. But all right, I just caught up with the top of Kamala HQ as of 6 hours ago. So there you go. All right, so now we're back to the basics. We are about 55 minutes in. All right, so to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to go over the 2020 exit polls and kind of show you what I mean by why Harris has to do better than Biden did in 2020 to have a good shot at winning. We already established that you do not need the popular vote as the Republican, namely Trump, to win the election in the EC, Electoral College. And so let's see what you need to win instead. So Kamala Harris's approval rating as VP for Biden in 2020 was 43%. And honestly, I think that's actually what it is now, to be clear. Honeymoon wise, apparently she's at like 49% approval or something. Doubt. If you read the text on screen, you'll notice that it mentions the virus and the pandemic and everything associated with it. And obviously these things benefited the opposing party. So the incumbent Donald Trump suffered because anything that was happening that was bad more or less got blamed on him indirectly, much like how inflation is going to really cost the Democrats in this election. That being said, Donald Trump, had it not been for the virus, definitely would have easily beat Joe Biden, obviously. I mean, the economy would have been great, and you wouldn't have had these externalities and the million dead people, and so therefore he'd do a lot better. And so, I mean, what would be so think about it. With the virus, with record turnout, with Biden being able to be in the basement the whole time due to like, oh, I don't want to get anybody sick, so I'm not going to have rallies and stuff. I'm going to have the little circles. Okay, without those excuses, what does Kamala have? I mean, she's already gone 3 weeks hiding. So what the hell is she going to do? What is going to replace Corona that's going to make people vote for Harris over Trump? Like, I don't know what it would be at this point. What's the replacement? Abortion? Maybe. I mean, abortion was on the ballot last election cycle. Now, I will concede it is more important, and it's up to the Democrats to really enthuse people on that basis, namely in Arizona, where it's on the ballot. Abortion is all the way up to viability even. And so that's somewhat popular. And so now I don't know what to make of this stat, to be completely clear. But if you look at here, view of Kamala Harris, it was about even. 48% favorable among voters in the 2020 exit poll, which again is like a survey of people that just finished voting, just generalized, and then 47% unfavorable. So she had a positive rating of 1. So that begs the question, will Tim Walz on the ballot be a +1 in approval rating, or will that debate with JD end up horribly, in which case he might be a net negative, in which case that would cost Kamala the election probably. Interesting. Also, keep in mind that Biden in 2020 had a positive share of support of 6 percentage points. So 6% more people liked him than disliked him, approved than disapproved. Kamala, even here, is at a +1. So she's still 5 points less than Biden. And keep in mind that if Biden's up by 6 and only still barely beat Trump, that means that Harris would have to do better than Biden to guarantee a win. And beyond this, of course, Kamala is not even +1 anymore. She's like -5 in approval rating, in favorability. And so, you go from a +6 spread with Biden against Trump to a like -5. So that's an 11-point difference, really, when you look at it. That's not good for Kamala. Another problem with Kamala, more important to the presidential vote, candidates' position on the issues. 75% of people voted on the issues. 23% voted on the qualities of the candidate. Kamala is hoping that it's on the issues of the candidate because obviously, if you're judging off of personality, then, I mean, the whole high school motif of like, oh, whatever happened to this thing at the club, or, Trump is like weird. That kind of plays into the popularity contest. So if Kamala's campaign were being run in a high school election setting, maybe that would work. But as evidenced by 2020, if you're going down the line of issues, then obviously, Trump is favored on the majority of those. So that's not looking good either. As you can see here, Trump won on the issues compared to Biden, 53-47. Now, Biden easily won like 2-1 the popularity contest as to like who thought, personal quality wise. That being said, Trump's lead on the issues ought to be more than 6 percentage points. It's probably going to be like 15. Another problem for Kamala, So favorable opinion of Biden and Trump, only Trump, and neither of them. You'll notice that obviously Biden gets the only Biden support. Trump gets the only Trump support by an equal amount, but then neither of them, Trump actually wins. So of the people that liked neither person, Trump won those people by 17. So that's why I keep nagging you about, and Kamala presumably in this gimmick video, I'm nagging Kamala over the undecideds. So of the people that don't like neither candidate, Trump won those by 17 4 years ago, when obviously you had the pandemic and things were worse situationally for Trump as an incumbent. Which brings me to this. Double negative voters has gone down. I covered this in my last video that I recorded chronologically. You'll notice people that hated both candidates last month were 25%. Now it's down to 14. But if Donald Trump won the people that hated both candidates by 17, then what's 17% of 14? You'd basically be doing 14 divided by 5. In which case, it'd be like 2.5% on the net for Trump. Think about it. So it's a net. So of the undecideds that hate both candidates, Trump is likely to win them by a ton. He beat Biden by 17 in that metric. That's 3% of the vote. So that is another 0.5% of the popular vote to Trump in 2020. So just imagine what it'd be this time. Another problem for Kamala. Views on Black Lives Matter, 57% favorable, 37% unfavorable. Biden obviously won that vote. That being said, that's not an issue nowadays. So that's another thing off the table. You had COVID out, Black Lives Matter out, healthcare, not really that big of a deal. Okay, you see? Another issue, and again, I think this is a stroke of so, oh my God, the timing of my comments are so bad. I've been talking for so many hours. Anyway, I think this is a stroke of genius from me, because look at this. How has the virus pandemic caused you, or has it, like financially? So you have severe financial hardship, you have moderate financial hardship, and you have no financial hardship at all. As you can see here, most people, I would say like 55% of voters had some sort of financial hardship due to the pandemic, which is probably a low ball. But as you can see here, both categories voted for Biden over Trump. Of the people that did not have financial hardship due to the virus, that was only 44% of people. So less than half. And those people voted for Trump. Now flip those results and add inflation, and then you get the similar thing, okay? So obviously 2 out of 3 categories will be like, yes, we're suffering from inflation. The only difference is that I would say like 90-something% of people have some financial hardship due to inflation, because obviously who the hell would benefit from that? And so that's going to be freaking terrible for Kamala. Another problem for Kamala right here. Who do you believe better handles the economy? Tied between Trump and Biden, 49-49. This is really bad. Because think about it, you were on the back of this huge artificial recession due to the lockdowns and whatnot, and now we're 4 years removed from that, but there's been inflation and things suck, and the economy's not growing as fast as it was under Trump, and so Trump's coming back, promising tax cuts and bringing back the economy from before the pandemic in the first place. So then all of a sudden, folks, you have a situation where Kamala is not going to be tied on the economy. She's going to be down by like double digits at least, in my opinion. Also, when it comes to candidate qualities, can unite the country, is a strong leader, cares about people like me, has good judgment. These are 4 different subjects. Trump led in 2 of these: strong leader and likes me. Okay, interesting. That formulates about 54% of the electorate. When it comes down to unite the country and has good judgment, that only adds up to 36% or 46%, even though Biden leads in both of these categories. So what that basically means is that in 2024, what's likely to be the most important quality is not so much, oh, is Donald Trump rambling? Is he being annoying? It's no, is he a strong leader? And compared to Kamala, are you kidding me? No, here, look at this. Most important vote, racial inequality, was at 20 percentage points. That's going to be like at 2% now. Nobody cares about that stuff. That ship has sailed. And Biden won that vote by 92%. Imagine how much of a buoy that was turnout-wise for Biden and the Democrats. Or what about Rona? Okay, 17% of people thought that was the biggest deal. And Trump lost that vote by 65 percentage points to Biden. That's off the table too. And again, Biden only barely won by like 50,000 votes in Arizona, Wisconsin, and Georgia. Keep this in mind. All right, the economy. Trump, when it was the most important issue, and it literally is with the plurality by a margin of about 15 percentage points over the other things. Trump leads that by like 67% over Biden, 66. Okay, big. All right, crime and safety. Trump leads that also by a ton over Biden. That's a bigger issue kind of now than it was before. Because even though before, obviously the police stuff was really relevant, but it was over like the racial aspect and not so much like literally people just stealing stuff out of Walmart and stuff. And so the crime is definitely more Republican flavored when it comes to helping out Trump. Healthcare policy at 11%, that's going to even shrink further, as Trump is not really promising to repeal anything the Democrats have done on healthcare. If anything, he's promising more about like not taxing Social Security and whatnot. And so there's really nothing there for the Democrats to latch onto, unless they want to promise like Medicare for all, which is another behemoth of a disaster. Because then all Trump would have to do is say like, okay, are you increasing taxes by this much or this much or this much or this much? You're screwed. You're screwed if you want to raise taxes. So there's no hope. Or it's a ton of inflationary spending. You already had inflation again. So that's not going to happen. Trump cannot be outflanked on healthcare. Here's another key Achilles heel for the Kamala Harris campaign. Biden won in part because obviously, if you look here in the 2016 vote, more people voted for Trump than did Clinton, but Trump ended up losing the election, even though he was leading this by 3. Okay, so 40 to 43. Notice this though. Of people that voted for Trump in 2016, 7% of them voted for Biden. Okay, you see this? Okay, so this 7% that went from Trump 2016 to Biden 2020, do you really think that these people, the 7%, are going to go for Harris? Or even better, you take a look at this other vote. Okay, 11% of people in 2020 did not vote in an election prior to it, and that explains why there's so much turnout everywhere, right? Obviously, Biden got more support than Obama did raw vote wise, and so that's crazy. But anyway, so of the 11% of people that did not vote before, Biden beat Trump by 20%. Well, the good news and the bad news is that for Kamala is that, there's not going to be some magical another 11% of the country that hasn't voted before. That's like literally physically impossible. So even if she were to win these by 20%, which she could, there's not going to be enough to switch the difference. In fact, if you had a normal election where the turnout were more average, the amount of people that didn't vote in the past election would be probably closer to 5. And so Biden would have lost in 2020. Okay, and my advice on this specific subject is twofold, okay? Decided on the presidential vote. In the last week of the election, only 5% of people made up their mind right then. These are the undecideds I was talking about all throughout the video. Before the last week of the election, so the non-procrastinators in the election, 91%. So look at that. Before the last week, these people voted 4% on the net for Joe Biden. Obviously, early mail-in votes. Why do you think they care so much about banking votes, early voting? Why having the debates later rather than sooner so that they can kind of like get all the goodwill and honeymoon support and those votes banked? Why do you think that Kamala Harris is pushing back press conferences, which I kind of agree with if that's the motive? That makes sense. That being said, when you look at the people that voted in the last week of the election, Trump won those by 12. So if you put that again in 2024, you see how the undecideds will gradually go to Trump over time. So even though he's down now, imagine where he's going to be in November. Even of people that decided the election in the month before November 3rd, that's 13% of people, which is a surprisingly low amount. You'll notice that Trump is still winning those people by 5 points. So you can see how the closer you get to the election, Trump gets stronger. Hence why he was behind in the polls in 2016 and still won. So you can see how even though Harris 2.5 months out might be ahead of Trump, it's going to get worse over time probably. Here is another thing that's bad for Kamala. In vote for president, Supreme Court appointments were an important factor or a not important factor. Most people, 60%, say that the Supreme Court did matter a lot. Well, it turns out that there's nobody, like obviously in that 2020 election cycle, you had Amy Coney Barrett like fresh off the bench and onto the new bench. And so that was contentious for a myriad of different reasons. Nowadays, it's not as important because there's nobody that's retiring clearly right now. And so that vote is off the table. Now, kind of is on the table because Roe v. Wade got overturned. And so people do vaguely care more about the Supreme Court, but there's no pressing issue insofar as like, oh my God, there's a 80-year-old justice that needs to be replaced right now. It's not the case. So more bad news for Kamala. Views of Mike Pence. He had a net negative 2% approval rating. So that's -3 compared to Trump in 2020. And you'll notice that it's a wash either way. Like it literally did not change anybody's vote at all, whether or not Pence was 2 points below Trump. So when people say like, oh, Vance is a couple points behind Trump, again, it seems like as of last election didn't matter either way. And so that's more so a good thing for Trump. And what could potentially be the kill shot for Kamala overall, looking at this map, is that view of Joe Biden, favorable 52, unfavorable 46. Positive 6% approval rating, still only barely beat Trump, and Kamala right now is like at a -5. So she's down 11 from where Biden was 4 years ago, but we're supposed to believe that she's actually going to win this. Come on, bros. All right, so if you really waited over an hour for the prediction in this case, let's get to it, okay? Like the video if you've gotten this far. I've literally stayed up until like 2 in the morning pre-recording videos because I'm going to Rocky Point for like 4 days, okay? But you got uploads up the wazoo, baby, so don't be mad at me. Now, like the video if you've gotten this far, so let's get into it. So let's first of all kind of clear the map, kind of empty out the chessboard and see what we're working with, okay? So first and foremost, if Kamala runs her campaign like I would, like if I were controlling everything, you know, my expertise, my developing a pink eye, okay, not really, but still, let's see. First and foremost, she'd have 226 locked in, okay? Don't worry about this. We're going to give her probably, if she does all the right things with spending money strategically to turn out black people and, you know, what the Biden coalition was in 2020 on steroids in Georgia, I think she could win Georgia. I think Michigan's pretty good too. Michigan's probably more liberal than is Pennsylvania or Wisconsin for that matter. I also think that if Harris Walz does a really good job of getting the turnout out in college campuses, which they already do, historically Democrats do, like crazy. Like my college campus voted like 90-something% Democrat, which literally doesn't even make sense. Like those are dictator margins, but Democrats are good at getting turnout kind of like in an arbitrary sense. And so I think Wisconsin is ripe with big liberal areas. I think that she would have a good chance of winning this if I were to control things. I think Pennsylvania is a state that she'd have more trouble with. Had she picked Shapiro, it would have been beautiful, but nevertheless, she could still pull it out. The way she would do it is, again, energizing black turnout, doing Biden margins in the suburbs. It's going to be a stretch, but she's going to have to pull it off somehow. And so you've got that. You could say maybe using Biden as a surrogate around Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm saying hell no, dude. The guy's washed. I mean, you might as well have 55-year-old Michael Jordan playing basketball against LeBron. It's just like a stupid idea. A novelty for sure, but come on. Okay, now, North Carolina, if I were running the campaign, would I win North Carolina? Maybe. If I got Roy Cooper to do all the grunt work, I painted Trump to be basically like Mark Robinson's, like pretty extreme or whatever, maybe then. Arizona, I mean, if you really get the abortion initiative to be like at the centerpiece, and you really taint every Republican running there, including Trump, as being averse to that pretty popular piece of not legislation, but that ballot initiative in Arizona, maybe you could win Arizona. Nevada, I mean, how's she gonna win that? I mean, Trump is still winning it, even though he's losing nationwide, kind of. So what the hell would happen here? We don't know. I would say, for the sake of my argument, if Harris is already leading in the Rust Belt by so much, Trump would probably just pull out resources from Nevada if he were smart and put them into Michigan, Wisconsin, or whatever, and kind of have those bigger states compensate for the electoral state. Wow, dude. Oh my God, my brain's fried. The 6 votes out of Nevada. So there you go. 319 to 219. So this could be the election if I were to run everything, if I had my say with everything with Kamala, and if I were a self-loathing Republican, which I'm not. I'm just playing devil's advocate. And, you know, also beyond that. Now, what's ironic, to wrap up the video, is that even though I was supposed to like give Harris the benefit of the doubt and like trying to like gas myself up into thinking she could beat Trump, over an hour later, I feel worse about her prospects than I did before I even started. I feel more confident about Trump winning now than when I was trying to gas him up in that video too. That I spent 40 minutes on. Like, that's actually nuts. So Kamala, it's over, bro. Now, that being said, this is the lowest energy I've ever been on a video ever. It's like late at night. I'm trucking. Okay, the 4 uploads you've seen the past several days were all made in the same sitting, guys. So anyways, comment down below if you like low energy Lalo. I doubt it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I appreciate it. Let's get this ball rolling crazy, like 80 something days until the election. Let's get right into action. All right. So anyways, I'll see y'all. Dude, oh my God, I'm like Joe Biden. I'm sundowning. Anyways, see y'all in the next one. Adios.